Okay, so here we are last Thursdays, and I wanted to speak today a little bit about our holistic approach, because sometimes, especially in our supervision group and in our network, people ask about specific labels of diseases and how to work with them. And sometimes these labels or diagnoses are very specific. And we are not trained medically. I just want to say that up front. So as a general approach, when we work with people, we don't take the allopathic medical approach looking at the pure physical condition and the anatomy and the disease and how it all comes about. And we are looking at the whole person. That's what holistic means. We have a whole approach. So we are not looking at one puzzle piece. We are looking at the bigger picture. So when we look at a diagnosis, that is like a piece of the puzzle. It is a name, or it is a whole context of suggestions that this body is malfunctioning in this place, and this is the future prognosis. This is possibly where it comes from. If we just focus on that one piece of the puzzle, then we are not taking in consideration many other things. And Leonard put them together and he called them the biggies. And now we're having 16 biggies, because that includes like birth, childhood, past lives, our feelings. Are we happy in life? Our death urge or life urge? All events in life. Did we have trauma at school? Did we have trauma through religion, sexual abuse? How do we deal with food? So when we look at the person in a holistic way, we're also looking at the spiritual aspects of life, and how they view life, how they're living life, if they're happy and everything. So sometimes when people ask what to do in specific situations or with specific diagnosis, I think it is best to step back from that, because then we are trying to fix a medical problem, and this is not what we are looking for. We are looking at the whole person in their specific needs. What is the need of that specific person in this moment right now? And then we, of course, we look, okay, is there a possibility that something in the past blocked the flow of life, blocked our happiness, blocked our creativity? And then, of course, we look at the future goals. So diagnosis can help us sometimes to have an idea which direction, which perspective, or which focus we could take to look at, because some diseases possibly, like diabetes, Leonard used to say, people are refusing to receive the sweetness of life. So some, or with epilepsy, that possibly the person had an out of body or high spiritual experience, and they couldn't communicate that to anybody. So it boggled their mind and confused them. in a state. But we have to be careful if we say this is always the cause, because then we are not looking at the individual person. So the individual person is what we're having in front of us, and every person is different. So we had possibly the same trauma at school, got beaten by a teacher, but we took it completely different. So when we're making general assumptions about labels, and this is the cause, and this is how it's going to proceed in the future, or what we should do to fix it, I think we are getting off track. And so the causes can be so vast that it is also like there's maybe thousands of puzzle pieces. And the breathing helps the person to get access to different puzzle pieces. And so we are working with the person to find those puzzle pieces. And I rarely call myself a healer, because that's too much of a title, I think, because whose healing is either the divine power or the client themselves. And I think it's very important to stay humble and say, okay, I was participating in it. I made suggestion. I was holding the space for the breath to move. But the person is actually doing the work. Otherwise, if I say I healed you, I disempower you also. I disempower other people. So I like the people to be totally responsible for their own life, and not taking that burden that I have to do something so that they get healed. So coming back to the holistic approach, the person is collecting information about themselves through the breathing and through the counseling, through insights that they receive through different methods that we introduce to them. And then it clicks, and then in that enlightened moment, then healing can happen for them. So that's why sometimes when people in the network group were asking about specific labels, I did not feel that I should answer that. I mean, now this is my answer to it, because watch out, because a medical trained person will also tell you, you know, that's not your business. And legally, it's not our business. So that's why I wanted to make that a specific point today, not to you too, but to the whole group, of course, to everybody who will listen to this. The holistic approach is collecting information, and hopefully this information is divinely guided and downloaded in the breathing session, because then the person can really accept it. If I say to you, this is a solution for your problem, it bypasses the emotional mind usually. You know, sometimes people think about it and have an idea, but it only clicks when I have that moment of, aha, this is the problem that I have, and that this is how I can change it. And it's a deep internal process. It's not done by words. And so that's why the breathing is so powerful, because it's all that internal work that we do. And the causes, of course, like I said, they can be so multitude and so big, but the bottom line is love for life. So, and that's the biggest question that we can ask our clients: do you love life? Are you happy in your life? And that leads us then always to the death urge, and the death urge can show up just in multiple ways. And so really all disease is created by some aspect of the death urge. And that is caused by any of the biggies, or even maybe we don't have all the puzzle pieces in the biggies, even that can be bigger. Any other comments? Any comments that you have about that? Because you are experienced breath workers. If you feel like sharing something.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, because it is something that's been on my mind recently. If there are cases, definitions or labels that we will that are not fitting, that are not suitable, that we would that we need to know. I don't know.
Well, for me, the answer has always been very simple. I work with anybody who really wants to work on themselves. I am not trying to convince people if they don't feel like called for it, because that usually doesn't work very well. I don't push people into it in any way, because it's too deep for anybody to just lightly approach it, or not being totally wholeheartedly involved in the process. And anybody with whatever label or disease would come, I would work with. There is certain diseases that I would take first a lighter approach, like with epilepsy, or some disease, you would just suggest do the 20 connected breaths. Do them for a month, every day, twice, or so then you're preparing yourself for the energy flow. Some people might be so exhausted that they have a challenge of maintaining the breathing, and then you also, you need to also introduce fire to it. We are all breathing, and so the connected breathing is good for anybody who breathes, and it helps to make the breathing stronger. It helps to change breathing deviations. It helps to take more oxygen, and it helps to be more alive. So why would we have any disease that we would say, see, that's, if there's this one puzzle piece, why would we say that is stronger than the power of the breath that can flood the body with life energy? So that's my take on it. And the person has to be totally committed and ready. And we have to, of course, give a proper last minute or the introduction into the breath, what could happen. So if you have diseases that people experience certain kinds of symptoms, you want to know what symptoms could show up so that you're prepared. In that case, for that, you might ask, what is the physical condition that you are having right now? Because then you're prepared for it to come. So you do want to know, and still, but only for your being ready to know, oh, in that case, this happens frequently, like people with migraine. Then that migraine could really show up in the session. So knowing that label, but it doesn't say that you are healing the migraine, you are working on relaxing. And when you're totally relaxed, there can't be any tension, which is the cause of migraines. So there's contraction in the head. And so if the person relaxes, all that contraction can disappear. So that was a long answer for your question. No, I work with anybody who seriously wants to go deep in their own self-realization, in their self-understanding. And whatever the puzzle pieces are, that doesn't matter. That's not my focus. I look at them, we see them, okay, they're there. But the soul is so much bigger than that little piece of the puzzle that the body shows. And as I believe everything is healable, curable, not every person might choose or might be able to, or wanting to do that or able to do that, but as a general, everything, there's, of all diseases, there is cases where people have healed themselves from it. Cancer, in last states of cancer, there is cases where people have healed it. So that means it is possible for all. Why these things are, sometimes we don't know the bigger truth, why that person is not able to do that. And it shouldn't be a judgment like you are not spiritual enough or you are not evolved enough and you are not working hard enough. That is just blaming and making the person feel guilty about not doing good enough. Those answers are not, they're just invalidating the client. So, but sometimes there is things that for whatever reason, we might not be able to easily move them. It might take more time. So the holistic approach is important because that means I see the person as they are, as much as I can possibly see of their aspects or their life, their different personalities, their different lives, their circumstances. Any other comments?
We're talking about it. I think that I wanted to write it, but I can't do it without closing the camera. That I think that the biggest expectation that I encountered and the most common one is for everything to be resolved in the first one session.
Right. And so if we make promises like that, then we are setting ourselves and the client up for disappointment. Because it is, most of us have the experience, if we seriously have some issues, it is not a superficial thing and say, okay, now it disappears because I just do one thing. Sometimes it takes changes in lifestyle, it takes changes in habits, food habits, relationships, and so that's what the soul is in evolution. And so sometimes, in the Bible, Jesus is asked, I think it was a blind man, why does he have that disease? Did he sin or did his parents sin? And then the beautiful answer of Jesus is, no, this is just to glorify God. So not that I suggest that we should be, we should have these challenges, but sometimes we have the challenges and that's part of our life's journey. And if we give our clients the feeling they personally have to resolve it and they are doing something wrong, if it doesn't get resolved very quickly, then we are just burdening them. So we have to be very delicate and patient. Real true healing is patience. You know, all our emotional upsets and habits and little ticks that we have, it takes decades to change them. And Leonard always said we have to be patient with ourselves, of course, and then with other people. And so the label or the disease could just be there to teach people patience, to face life and to not get discouraged, to keep being present. So we don't know all these things, and we are just exploring in a holistic way with our clients. Okay, what could be the possibilities? What is the need for change while we are in that situation? And then our relationship with the client becomes very deep and meaningful, and they experience trust in themselves also, because they feel like, oh, I'm in progress, I'm on my way, and that label or that puzzle piece, okay, I can handle that. I just wanted to mention this for everybody, not specifically for the two of you, but and thank you for being here. I will stop the recording.
So why do you think that there are contraindications for breathwork listed in some places, like high blood pressure, glaucoma?
Well,
Why?
that's a really important question. I don't list contraindications. And again, if you list a certain disease and you're picking one piece of the puzzle and you say for that situation, we shouldn't be doing it. But I'm not looking at the whole person. So the label could also be in the contraindications. You're also working with labels, or you're not working with them. So high blood pressure, there could be many causes for high blood pressure. One could be the person is not speaking what they need to speak out. So they are bottled up and the pressure internally is building up. Or it could be like too much stress, too much concern, too much worry. And, so why would I say I wouldn't work with them? These people specifically need it. But if I look at that label and say, okay, this is incurable, I mean, the contraindication would say it's incurable. That's implying it. I can't help you with the breathing. So for me, I would never make contraindications like generalized pieces of the puzzle. So high blood pressure, or many people have lowered their blood pressure, or low blood pressure is raised because the blood is pumping, the oxygen is pumping, and so glaucoma, you mentioned that. I mean, if there is pressure in the eye, then that's also like the internal pressure, whatever the cause of it is. So if I pick out, it's the same thing, I want to work with one label or I don't want to work with one label. It's the same approach, that I'm not looking at the whole person as they are. So high blood pressure is no problem because when the energy moves, you know, everything will just organize itself in the physical body. And I've never heard of any complications with it, you know. But if you don't do proper completed energy cycles, if you do groups where people are left confused, then of course that's a different story. But or if you personally are afraid of this piece of the puzzle, you know, the rebirther also could have preoccupation about, you know, they heard about this, and or they you know, then it's part of their fear. Yeah.
Okay.
So a very good question, you know, because it's just the same thing, just on the opposite. You know, I work with a label or a disease, or I don't work with it.
Mhm.
Thank you, Martina.
Thank you. Mhm.
Okay, I finished the recording, and I hope everybody who sees it will benefit from it and get some insights. And thank you for the two of you to participate in it.